let us get into it. How might we love what we love? I do not mean idealizing or worshipping, because in my mind, idealizing and worshipping implies there is something to hate. What a word, hate. Do we hate the other person, or that by virtue entering into any relationship with anyone or anything is tied by virtue, is tied to loss? Who loves who first? We wonder about who loved who first. That is nice and possibly easier to carry in ourselves and also the relationships we encounter through life, movies, books, music, and paintings. Modern culture prescribes a notion of learn to love yourself first. That's partially true, except a question that comes from that then becomes something like, but I'm worthless, or even more sadly, everyone rejects me, or everyone hates me, and that is reinforced. So, learn to love yourself first is very much down the line, and to me, actually quite damaging, or at least sets expectations that actually may harm the experience of love. Why would this phrase, learn to love yourself, bother me? And possibly other people that especially want to be loved? Well, to love implies a capacity to hate. In other words, we cannot truly know what love is without being able to hate in a realistic and healthy way. In my mind, what we call negative experiences are far too easy to run into and perhaps dwell in. And since they are so easy to simply bump into, we do not really question why or how they came to be experienced. I'm not saying that every experience has to be dissected or turned inside out, but I see quite a problem that I feel is sometimes too commonly expressed, and the phrase learn to love yourself is thrown at those expressing their collective hurt. And as a collective hurting, it sometimes turns into voluntary harm, or at least someone being harmed in some way. So to be able to love almost anything, we first have to have the capacity to recognize that we can and will hate something. And what may that something be? Ourselves. And then acknowledging or recognizing that we hate ourselves, we can hate ourselves, we can ask why, how, maybe for some enlightened people, will. By asking these questions of how, why, and will, not in a calculating way, the hatred may loosen into a perspective rather than a fact. And in becoming a perspective, we can widen the scope or frame. I'm not saying no one can hate you or that it will not affect you in the world, but hatred can certainly be true, at least in the moment. if you can loosen the hatred of yourself, it becomes movable. It can have a direction. And by changing the frame of the question, how do we love ourselves, into more of a question of, can I hate myself and survive that? Down the line, we can become grateful for our own survival of our own hatred. And can you guess what that may do for other people? Our hatred will most likely not be a reckoning force of wrath and false pride. Perhaps worst of all, betrayal. By no means am I saying that we do not need hatred in our lives. I'm just trying to speak on how hating in a more realistic and grounded way may actually be needed to potentially love and also to receive love. So if we can survive our own hatred, I would hope during that we may experience some kind of guilt for potentially causing loss, or at least witnessing loss of some kind. Now, something quite difficult may begin to arise, and that difficult thing may be at first the slight perspective shift, a budding sense of gratitude for what we encountered and lost, and what was lost. And in this recognition of our hatred, in this framing, we lessen the urge to see our hatred as a tightly held fact. Oh, I'm a bit sick. Tightly held facts are sometimes projected. So understanding that slowly a rejection or an ending or disappointment may not equate to deep hatred or an entire hatred done to you by the other person. The slow fading of these projections may paint the other person as a more accurate and warm being in reality. That can be actually met, rather than a cold mechanical number, a match, a statistic, another one, to be done away with a strategy and tactic. And from there, we can meet, possibly again and again, or finally, just for once,